So I'm here for the last stream of the day. I'm here with Alan from Sowle Games, and we're going to be looking at his game here called Adventure Awaits. But before we dive into that, just a quick special announcement. We are running our live stream prize this weekend. So we have 3 bundles for Privateer Press's Monster Apocalypse that we're giving away. Yeah, so there's going to be a whole bunch of starter bundles that you can win. So you've got to do is comment on the post that's attached to this live stream, and you can be in with a chance of winning those, which is pretty cool. We've also got a whole bunch of other prizes as well. But I want to talk to you, Alan, about this game. I like myself a little bit of dungeon delving, a little bit of adventuring, and Adventure Awaits sounds like it's a pretty cool concept for me to get stuck into. So
it's different.
It is different, and it's very, very cool though. So, Alan, first of all, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I want to say thank you, Ben, first.
No worries, man.
It's nice to see more than just the head.
Yeah. Normally I'm just like cut off here. So,
on a screen, so you're not a brain in a jar, actually.
I'm not,
So it's really good to meet you at the last. So thank you for the show business here.
No worries,
and so everybody, I'm Alan, and I had a concept for an idea. And it came to me one afternoon. I'm not too sure if it was washing up or I was in the shower. So it involves water, and one had clothes and one didn't. But an idea came to me, and I just can't shake it. And it was like, if you build it, they will come, or they will pay money. And I thought, what should I do? And if I leave this on the shelf, then obviously you never know if your dreams come true. So I've taken a lot of courage. And then in December, I booked the hotel. I booked the booth, and then I realised I can't get out of this now. and then over Christmas I was ill for several weeks with side effects of some pain medication. And basically what that means is I was so stressed, and then I had like a couple of months to get this from China and bring it, and here I am. And I must admit, the UK Expo this year, my first year, it's been amazing.
It's an amazing show.
And I was so nervous on the Thursday night and the Friday, and then suddenly all the people are coming to me, and I'm getting people from RPGs and families who want to teach children a different game without all the complicated rules. And I've been taking so much feedback. My confidence has really increased, and I feel there is a game here to go forward. And I like to tell the people out there that this is an early prototype.
So all the stuff you're seeing here is all sort of very work in progress.
It is. It is art that I've paid for from simple companies just to make it look a little bit attractive. So what you see is an early prototype. Please do not giggle or laugh. Okay. But please try and follow my idea of my creativity. I'm a guy with dyslexia. I see, with this gift, I see imagery a lot. And it was something that just rushed into my mind. So what would you like to know more about that waffle, really?
I would love to know sort of your core concepts behind Adventure Awaits, and sort of a little bit about the game and sort of how it came to be and sort of the mechanics of it as well.
Indeed. So yes, I don't know about you, I think I do, that you like your dungeon delving.
I do. I like a little bit of dungeon delving. I like game books, I like adventures, I like RPGs. It's all good for me.
And for
board games, of course.
For my young age, back in the 80s, the Harrow Model Shop was the place to go to, and I learned so much from that. We had the Fighting Fantasy game books, the early Games Workshop games of Dark Future and all that, and moved through the years. And so I have all this knowledge and experience and rough painting ability. These are my own miniatures, and some of these are like 30 years old, to be honest. But because of this game,
they've seen a new lease of life.
Exactly, and so I think that's another bullet point people can say as a feature. So about 2 years ago, the concept came up, and I think it was about looking at other people's games. And obviously I would never copy. I'm a kind of a guy like that. It's got to be original and fresh. And that's quite scary. It's not copy and paste. And so the idea was, how would I design a game which is delving into dungeons, but the game would be different every time you play? How could we do that? Now, I can't really go to China and produce massive amounts of miniatures, and that was the first stumbling block. And the second one was, if we had game tiles, you obviously have to put miniatures on top of those tiles. You need a big table, and it doesn't matter where you are in that game world, up in the snowy mountains or in the jungles and that, it's always going to be the same tile, or two-sided
all the time.
So I was thinking, how do we get past these limitations? And the idea was a card deck, which is a simple start at the front of the card deck, and as you move through the card deck, you're going through the dungeon.
Cool. I'm just going to do a little bit of a close up and see that. So this is the deck that we'll be looking through. So
Yes. It's just a random sized deck. Again, prototyping over summertime. We'll be looking at sizes.
And I'm going to do a little bit of a peek, and I'm just going to show you that, yes, there is stuff on the other side, but it shows you the sort of stuff you're going to be encountering as you go through.
And it's not pencil either. I've moved past pencil now. I'm onto crayons, actually.
But yeah, sorry. So yeah, you were saying about the course. We're going to be going through this deck,
Yes,
sort of going through the adventure as it unfolds.
Yes.
And then as we go, we can have a look at here, sort of the setup.
Yeah,
here.
so everybody, this is our board that I've designed. Yeah. And it's divided into two sections. I know we're just squeezing on camera here, and you can't see our pretty faces. Yours mainly. Yeah. But on this side of the board, we call it the exploration side.
Yep, okay.
Which has the cards, and these little circles just represent the party order. Mm-hmm. Like in your films of Lord of the Rings, there's always a line of people, the guy at the front and the guy at the back.
So this is the kind of thing you would have seen in Dungeons & Dragons, where it's like, so I need your party order, guys, as you go down into the dungeon.
Yeah. Who wants to be at the back? No chance, kind of thing. And they all swap places. So iconic, really, and very retro in some respects. So we have the party order, and here we're using a selection of my own miniatures. And as I said, no laughing at my paint jobs.
I said these are pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
I'm just going to switch over here this one, so you just see the camera work on this guy.
He's a Reaper guy, very cheap,
very cool.
And I was rushing to do him last week.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's an epic barbarian.
You've got to have a classic barbarian, have you?
You do.
And we have a ranger and a guy just to say he's a wizard and a guy at the back. So it's just a representation of some of my paintwork.
Yeah.
So what happens in the exploration phase is there will be a story.
Yeah.
And I guess with stretch goals, we have different stories. Mm-hmm. Now, what is a story? A story is 4 decks of cards. Mm-hmm. And as you can see on camera, we have event in green, we have reward in blue, we have danger in red, and threat in black. Mm-hmm. And they're also color coded to those dice, which the hands of Ben will appear.
So you can see them here.
Yes. And they represent a bit of a color coded system with that.
Yeah.
So what happens is, as you turn the dungeon deck cards over, as you and your party explore further into your specific scenario, you would roll the dice, because the card will tell you to, and whatever the symbol comes up on here, you turn the card, somebody reads it, and the story continues, and once again the cards turn over through the dungeon again, more cards turn over, and it should create a thematic experience. And the way that I wanted to do this was, I didn't want a game where 1 minute you're fighting a minotaur, you go around the corner and there's a troll, and then there's a blob of jelly, and then there's a ghost, and you're thinking, why are all these creatures all lining up in a queue? So I thought, let's have something which tries to not break the immersion factor. So on the card, if you'd like to turn one over, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. So So this is the event that we're going to turn over. So this will be all laid out here.
Yeah. So for instance, this scenario is called Lair of the Web Queen. Very old-fashioned, actually. Yeah. And as I said, with my dyslexia, I'm very that kind of way. And the story is very simple. Adventurers are going into an old, disused dungeon system, which has been left there by humans or dwarves or anything like that.
Some ancient race of some kind.
Indeed, it's in disrepair. And somewhere in the bottom of that deck will be the objective, which obviously in this question is the Spider Queen herself.
Okay.
So on as a bullet point, it's go into the dungeon, kill the main boss, the Spider Queen, and the adventure is over. Yeah. It's up to you, like an RPG, how you describe it. So these adventurers could be in a tavern, and the villagers are worried that the cows are being eaten and dragged off. Maybe the adventurers have been wandering and they've seen an upturned wagon and webbing all over the ground, and the webbing leads to scattered bones outside a dungeon cave mouth, and so the heroes will draw their swords and get stuck in for maybe a little bit of gold, or maybe just for honour.
Yeah, so you can sort of kind of theme it around the kind of things that you want to do as a group.
Yes, like I said, if someone was to buy a game from me, I would like them to use it how they wish.
A little bit of a toolbox kind of aspect to it.
And the words I came to myself the other day was open source.
Oh,
actually.
Yes, that's a good word. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's pretend we're going to be starting going through this and sort of turning over these cards. So we're going to turn over the first card. So as you can see here, as we turned, we've got the deck
here. The first card tends to be the entrance.
Yeah. So
and if I just turn it and read it, and I turn it back, it says, standing before you is the entrance you seek. Weapons at the ready, you enter. So most dungeons always start with a beginning. Yep. But there's no reason why, as the adventure moves on, you can change the order.
Right.
So in a future adventure where you might have to go down and kill the goblin warlord, instead of having the entrance at the front and the goblin encounter at the end, in there is a prison cell card. You could take the prison card out and put that at the front of the dungeon.
So you can have a very different experience as you're fighting out of it rather than that's really
and
cool.
then somebody will say, today guys, we've been captured by the Goblin King, we've been put into prison, and the game starts in the prison, and in the card at the end will be the objective of getting out.
Right.
So you've changed 2 cards, and I didn't tell you to do that.
And it's already immediately changed the narrative structure of the story. Just
and
from that,
like it's like an RPG with a little bit of a framework. So you don't spend hours designing an adventure and somebody runs off and does something completely different, and they've messed your day up. So there is a little bit of a framework, and as I said, every single adventure would just have these 4 decks, themes particularly,
which you can see here. Which is cool.
And I call them the omens. So the person telling them over isn't really, it's like a tarot reader, the fate of the adventurers. So the turning of the cards is my image of it all.
So so we're going to turn over the deck and see what's coming up next. So we'll turn this over and I'll have a read of it.
By God, take a chance.
So we've got T-junction. At last, the path splits its way into 2 ways, and so we've got. I'm going to switch over to the camera over here. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be like. There we go.
There we go. So you've done a great job there,
so
mate.
I'm switching over here, and it's got the dice that we're going to be rolling here, I assume.
Indeed, and I colour-coded it as well, and we see how that goes for people with different abilities and how they read cards.
So we'd read the top of the bit here, and then would you just go straight into rolling the dice?
Yes, indeed. The top part, it's very simple. I do want to explain the whole reason of T-junction. It was all about a few lines, so you can continue that story, or you read it your way. So I don't know how you would say, at last the path splits into 2 ways. I would say, I've entered the dungeon with my party, and from the torchlight, as we move several feet into your dungeon, we come across a T-junction of a rock face. Do you go left or do you go right?
And the shadows stretch off into the darkness.
That is not on the card, but it starts you rolling. I call this the imagination engine. When you open the box, it's not really in there because it's in you. And I think that's important.
So it's kind of like what you would have had with, for example, with a DM's guide, for example, you would have had little tiny snippets, and then you as the DM is the person that has to try to extrapolate that.
Some people might not have confidence to go into such an elaborate way of speaking.
But then this gives you the kind of the basics of what you want to do.
Absolutely. And every time you pick that card up, you could read it or visualize it, how you've been. And the thing is, you may have been in a dungeon yourself. Well, say no more there. But on the holiday, you may have done cave-in. You may have seen a video. Everybody has their own image of a dungeon or a crypt. And so I didn't want art to lock you into an image which is someone else's. I want you to have freedom and fun, of course.
Which is awesome. So so we're gonna go back to this card over here.
Certainly.
So we're gonna go back to the card and have a look at it. So we would have read the top bit and we would have extrapolated it and done a little bit of fluff and background on it. And then we would roll the black dice straight away, would we?
Well, yes, of course, the first die is the black, and it's followed by the green. You can roll them together, but obviously we go in the order as it says there. Would you like me to do the tossing, really?
So we'll go to the wider view here. We can see this.
Let's see what happens on live TV. Ooh.
So we get a T there.
So we have a T.
Yeah.
Now, normally the black die has 2 sides to represent the black card, which is fret. And a fret is a physical encounter, meaning combat. And if you have miniatures or tokens, you would use those, and there will be something in the game if you don't have miniatures, of course. So don't worry, I'm looking into 2D cardboard cutouts or something. It's like buying a car with no wheels. You don't do it. But for those that have other Kickstarters on their shelves, you may have several dungeon games and you never get them out for whatever the reason. But get out your miniatures. No art that says you can't be Conan, you can't be Jon Snow, anything like that. And I want you to read a book and say, that's what I want to do.
Cool.
So in this example,
so we generated the black dice and the green dice.
The black die was blank, so there was no threat in that regards. But the green die is the green card, which is an event, tends to be a neutral encounter. But as you know in life, neutral can always turn nasty. And in this case it did. And as your fingers reach for that card...
So we flip it over and have a look
Indeed,
at it,
and take a chance.
So let's have a look.
And see if you can break my game.
So, looks like we are following the right track. We clearly went down the right shadowy passageway. And then it says, on your next dungeon card, you can re-roll any omen result or succeed in one. And so we get an experience thing at the bottom there?
Yeah, there's a chance, and at the moment my experience system is you would roll a d6,
okay,
and on a 6 you get a point.
Wicked.
Because at the end of the day, if I gave you a point for free, it's like, well, I've only just got to the end of a corridor.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, well done for finding those tracks.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of, the words kind of reflect what's going on. And it just says that because we found some tracks, when you turn your next card, you can always re-roll a die you don't like.
So we've got a little bit, we were thematically doing this. We've gone down and we've used the torchlight to look a little bit further ahead.
Yes.
And we've just seen something in the distance moving. And so we're trying to formulate a plan together as a party.
So we've seen spider marks all over the place.
Yeah.
And if the next card is you find spiders and there's a battle, you can change that, because you obviously know which way the spiders are going, and you can go the other way.
Brilliant. So we keep this in front of us? So we just
well, once it's red, you know what's happening, we will put it in the back of the deck.
So you put it in the back of the deck?
For this encounter, we can leave it on the table.
Just so we remind ourselves.
Yes, of course, because there is something that says the next card.
Yeah.
And at the top it says event to represent the deck. And at the bottom of that card, people may have seen, it says Curse of the Web Queen, which is
that off again,
which is the name of the scenario.
Yeah. Which again goes back to what you were saying about the fact that each of these are going to be themed around a specific.
Yes. So it's all themed around spiders and that.
Yeah.
So under the reward deck, you will not find a chest full of gems and goblins and all kinds of things. Because why would spiders hoard stuff?
Yeah, it'll be something that's thematic to that.
Spot on.
Yeah, so.
But later on, when there's other adventures, there's no reason why you can't slide a card out that you like from a different adventure and slide it in. And that way, when you resort them back in, you put them back in their order.
That's cool.
So later on, if there was a card like a rockfall that comes down in the Goblin adventure, you just take that card, slide it in this deck, it tweaks it slightly.
Cool. So that means that you could go away once you've played a couple of the different scenarios, and someone could set up a deck for a bunch of people.
Absolutely.
And just have
because with an RPG, you would go home and write the whole thing out.
Yeah.
And then you take this huge wad of paper, and this would all be drawn on a graph, and you know exactly what's in each corner.
Yeah.
But all you need to do is go home, say to your friends, we're going to fight a giant spider next week, and you spend 10 minutes sorting out the cards, and then they all do get shuffled, so you get surprised.
Yeah.
But you still are a little bit of a GM because you've created the experience. But then what happens is your friend will take over, and if he didn't know RPG and he doesn't have the time to read a huge rule book, but with this, he will change the decks
with the cards,
and people are like, thank you for such a great experience.
Yeah.
And that's that. And so on this card, as we encountered, we have a threat.
We do, yes.
Which means spiders.
Oh,
so
okay.
if we turn the correct card over,
yeah,
which is this one.
So we turn this, so we're going to grab one of these black cards here.
Yeah.
And we have a look at it. And so I'm going to put this under the closed cam so we can have a look at it. So, a fat, lazy spider blocks your way, and he's got friends. And then we spawn one small spider per hero.
Indeed. So at the moment, let's just say we're on our own.
Yeah.
It'd be one spider, one hero. If there's 4 heroes, 4 spiders. Again, that's being worked on to make it not balanced, because life isn't balanced.
Yeah.
But we want a good experience. So once the exploration is done, we go into combat.
And that's what the other half of the board
Indeed,
is all about here,
which I have called the battle board.
Which sounds pretty good for me.
I know. And so we've removed all the things that have inches and hexes. I've seen games where...
So this is the battlefield here, just to show it off.
Indeed. So what I've seen in the past is there'd be a corridor with a miniature of a spider, and you'd be at the end, and you move 4, he moves 4, you move 4, and we roll combat. But when you watch the movies, you're charging down that corridor, the spider's coming towards you, and in 30 seconds you're fighting.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, let's just do that as a thematic sense.
So how would this work out when we spawn stuff onto here then?
Yes, certainly. So we're at a T-junction, we're looking left, we're looking right, and then all of a sudden you
hear a chitter of something, and a glint off the torchlight as the spider comes around the corner.
Or drops from the ceiling.
Or drops from the ceiling.
So it changes like an RPG based on the person. So what would happen, we would grab a miniature and some simple miniatures I've painted. So I definitely brought a small spider today.
So you can see the small spider popping up over here.
And we place him in the melee zone, which is in the center. And then we take our hero, and for this example, let's just say you're a lone barbarian.
I think lone barbarian suits me quite well.
Of
I
course.
think I'm going to go with
so
that.
Obviously he's going to charge into combat.
Yes.
And as I said, these are my own miniatures people. So obviously they're already fighting. So there's none of this, am I in your right arc, can I be in your left arc?
Yeah.
It's a thematic visual aid. Like people with RPGs, they like to put a few figures down.
Yeah, just to give yourself a little bit of a sort of like theatre of the
Yes.
mind kind of thing. Yeah.
Perfect wording. So we're in a T-junction, and coming around the corner is this big fat spider. We draw our sword, and combat will start.
Cool. Yeah.
So for a creature like a small spider, we take the small spider card.
So I'm just going to show this off on camera here. So we've got the small spider here. So it's got a. So could you read us through some?
Yes, of course. It's a
figures?
little bit of abbreviation. We have fighting,
Cool.
and we have physical, which is the health, agility. We have bravery, and it has one wound. So one smack on the head, and it will die.
The spider is mushed.
Indeed. And as you can see by the dice, it goes from a D4 system right up to D12.
Yep.
So a D6 is your average Joe. D4 would be weak. D8 would be improved. And so we have our simple stats there for our spider. Whoops.
So I'm just going to put that down there.
Indeed.
just so we
Now
can
the
see.
question is, what about our hero?
Yeah.
So if we talk about our hero,
Oh yes. So there was a whole bunch of decks in front of us. So we've got barbarian, ranger, warrior, and thief.
indeed.
And so we've got the barbarian card here.
So you have a similar card.
yeah.
There we
As
go.
you can see, so we've got the barbarian card here, which has the same kind of thing we've got going on. So we've got physical, agility, bravery, wisdom, perception, fighting.
And I hope you don't mind me doing the classic barbarian of weak wisdom because they don't read and write.
Some people like the tropes, and
Yes.
I'm particularly one of the tropes. I do like that.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, there is a card that will change that.
Yeah.
So we can see that if a D6 was a normal person, he's more physical, hence the muscular figure. He's better in fighting because he travels a lot. He's very brave, but you wouldn't ask him to solve a puzzle, which sounds about right.
And I noticed that you had a deck of these. So does this mean
Yes.
that at the beginning of each game you get a random barbarian? If I
Well,
was going to play the barbarian
If
one
we're
time,
all hunky, oiled down barbarians,
Yeah.
what makes us different? So everyone takes a card. It's completely random.
I'm going to go for this one. It's like a
Ooh.
magic trick.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
What does that say?
Barbarian backstory. So we're going to look at this
Hmm.
here. So it says, blooded and beaten. Oh, let's go. There we go. Blooded and
Okay.
beaten. That's not stopping me. You can re-roll any 1 or 2 on your physical rolls.
Exactly.
So again, a little bit of a backstory on the barbarian there that
Yeah.
we sort of
Just a
embellish
little bit of
ourselves
something a little
delving
different,
into,
yeah.
just to give us a little bit more of an interesting flex
Exactly.
stuff.
So this guy, if he rolls his physical of D8 and he gets a 1 or a 2, you can re-roll it.
Wicked.
So he's a bit tougher.
Yeah.
And obviously, what we can do is something like this, which now shortens to how many cards are on the table.
Gives you a little bit more table space, which is always good. So you can
I
see it
know,
here,
because some
sort of laying out
Kickstarters should actually sell tables as stretch goals, because it's getting the joke now, isn't
there.
it?
I've played so many games now where I need an extra bit added to it, where I've got
Yes.
miniatures going sit off in a different room that I'm now having to bring in or something. But yeah.
You can imagine that I've watched a lot of movies, and a lot of these cards are things like from Conan and various. And only last night I was remembering Beastmaster.
Oh, right.
So I need to do a card where you can maybe control a companion.
That'd be pretty cool.
And we have a Ranger deck. These decks are just for me to test over summer. We have a Ranger deck, and they're flavoured to more wisdom, more perception, ability to find herbs, and so you get a re-roll on healing.
Wicked, yeah.
The Thief, there's one there that says he's a good climber. You climb like you've already got rope. There'd be a thief who's a little bit braver because what is a thief? They're not all sort of little guys in capes.
No, because like you can have very different versions of thief. You can have like the bruiser guy that gets the money out of you by, beating you up and all that kind of
Or
thing.
the highwayman.
Or the highwayman
Yes.
and that kind of thing.
So there's a little bit of thematic going on there. And so what we do in combat is you would roll your physical die.
Cool. So we're just going to go back to this view here so you can see what's going on here. So,
Okay.
so I've got my physical die of a D8 there.
And of course the little spider's only got a D6.
He has.
Because, he's not that great.
One hopes that my rolling is going to be as good on camera as it is.
I hope we don't roll off the table. Yeah?
so I got a
6.
there.
Oh, we go then. So
That's
obviously, now, if I roll a 6, we equal each other, and so it'd be like blows are balanced
Okay,
and parried.
yeah.
But the thing is, though, spiders don't have hands unless they're very small. So on an equal roll, you're going to win anyway.
Right.
So an example, the little spider comes around the corner, poor little fellow, trying to find his mother, and you hit him with your broadsword. And so when we do something like damage, we have a deck of cards.
Cool.
Again, this is just placement cards. And so I've used a black card, so everybody knows what weapons are. They're black cards.
Shelled off properly there.
And again, once again, you say, Alan, where's the art? And I said, well, if I put art on there, I've now told you what a sword looks like.
Yeah.
Now, in your universe, that sword could be made out of dragon bone. So if there was art on there that said this is a sword like Jon Snow's beautiful sword, you're kind of looking at that, and locks the imagination.
Yeah.
So this sword can be whatever it wishes to be, even foam if you want to do an RPG. Yeah, it's interesting.
There are LARPers going off.
Exactly. I see. They're all getting excited and dropping dice.
Yeah.
So with a sword, you would roll a d8.
Yep.
It's deadly, which means you can re-roll a 1.
Awesome.
So a little bit of bonus. So if I gave you my d8, oh, there it is. Would you like to roll your d8?
So in this case, I rolled to do the attack with the physical attack.
Yeah, which means you win the combat.
Which means I won because you would have rolled, for example, just a 1.
Yeah, and there's no way I can beat the 6.
Right, and so then I'd go on to roll the damage from the weapon that I had in hand. So
just like a skirmish system, really. In fact, if this was inches, you could actually do it like a proper game system.
Yeah. Roll it again. So
and there's a 7. Now, the spider's got a physical health of d4
right.
because he's about the size of your foot. There is no point me rolling a d4 because I can't get a 7. Right. So basically, you've split the little baby spider in half.
I've done it as all good barbarians have done.
Yes. We must remember this is a training adventure for me to design a game to show people. Yeah. So we are fighting smaller creatures, and obviously it's easy. So the barbarian has gone around the corner, met a little spider. Says the spider, you kill it. Combat is over. Experience can be gained.
Yep.
And then afterwards, we remove ourselves from the battle board, back onto the exploration board, and then we continue turning the cards.
Yeah. And so if I was going to be doing this through a solitaire adventure, I'd always be at the front of the party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're playing it in a co-op group with a bunch of other players, does the next player then take the lead at that
when we come back to the exploration, you can discuss who wants to be at the front.
Right. Okay.
If the thief wants to be there because of the higher perception, and you know there's traps, but then again, does the thief want to be the guy at the front?
Right. Yeah.
And the one thing I like to mention is the T-junction battle we had. We used the battle board, which can be for anything.
This one here.
Yes. So if this was a barroom brawl, if you have any terrain, like terrain crate or something, you can put miniatures and terrain on here. And so like an RPG, if you want to leap off a table, there's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
Now on this T-junction card, there's some information at the bottom.
There was so I'm going to go back to the close cam so we can see that as well. So, just move your hands.
Oh, sorry guys,
that's right, yeah.
Bit of flesh there.
So we've got hits. Oh, sorry, what's that?
His. Hide in shadows.
Hide in shadows.
Yes.
Okay. Then we've got melee
and range. So I looked at a T-junction and said, well, can you hide at this T-junction? And I said no, because people say, oh look, there's a guy hiding in the corner.
Right. Okay.
Some rooms are more darker.
Yeah.
Some rooms are bigger. So a giant dark cave, everybody can go shh, hide. If you open a storeroom, you can't put 6 barbarians in there. So his is for people who want to say, I don't want to fight this big creature. I'm going to step to one side.
Their way through the caves.
Indeed.
And stuff,
So we're working on those rules. Melee is how many can actually physically fight in that room.
Right. So if that fight had come up there with the small spider in front of it, we could have potentially had three of our adventures.
Well, yes, of course, because it was you spawn 1 spider per hero.
Right. Yes, of course.
So at the moment, if there's 4 heroes on the table, which is my miniatures, it'll be 4 small spiders marching around the corner. 4 heroes. Obviously, it would be like only 3 each. Yeah. Because there's a spider at the back saying, "Please, can I be incorporated?" But you have a tight passageway, which would be 1 person, and so we're trying to create every location to be kind of unique based on what can you see. And again, if you're in a small room fighting and someone has a bow and he's like, I want to get a shot off, and you say, well, I'm sorry, in this location, you're going to shoot the back of your guy's head. Yeah. So you want to spread out. Like in the crypt is a bit more constrictive. Yeah. Again, I'm trying to create that feel of each location is slightly unique.
Just to go back to the battle board just for a second, because we can see some of the zones on here. So obviously we fought in this melee zone, which is here in the centre.
Indeed.
But then we have what you were talking about here. We've got hide in the shadow. Indeed. We've got long, short, which I'm assuming is for ranged abilities.
Indeed. Like and again, if you was to reskin this in, say, science fiction settings, which is like what's going through my mind, you'd be in corridors shooting at long distance. The Jedi would be running down the corridor. Cool. Yeah. So if you remember Lord of the Rings, when the baby troll came through with all the creatures, everybody was in the melee zone, and all those halflings were at the back. Yeah. So they would be at the back with the pots and pans and chucking the rocks, keeping out of the way. And that's the way the battle board came to me, and it's just a little visual aid to move through.
And then, as you were saying, obviously we'd continue through the deck and we'd go through all the different cards, and then
Indeed.
I assume there's a system when you set up where you place the boss certs
Yes,
somewhere, or the objectives.
At the moment, I'm
there.
dividing the deck into two,
Yeah.
and in the bottom deck there's that, and there's lots of other cards in there which are more caves. So instead of using them at the front of the dungeon, you can shuffle them in the back. So it starts off as a normal dungeon, and it starts going down into open caves and waterfalls. But you control that. You can have the waterfall as your first card if you wish, and the cave mouth could be underneath the water.
Yeah.
So that's the way we're working this out. And because we are trying to cut down on the rule book side, it's all on the cards.
I know, as you've seen, pretty much everything you need to know is on the cards, and I've just done one card there, and I pretty much understand exactly how to play the game.
And what is the rule deadly? It's you re-roll a 1.
Yeah.
But over here we have a deck of cards which says weapon effects.
So we've got weapon effect. So we've got
general.
effects general over there, and we've got weapon effects.
So if you got shot gooey, sticky web by a spider, and you say, Alan, this card says I'm stuck, I can tell you the rule, I could find the rule in the rule book, or I can shuffle through the cards quickly, hand you the stuck card, and you'll be stuck.
And it's just immediately in front of you, just as a reference.
And you can leave it there. So if several turns later, someone else gets stuck, maybe they got stuck in a rock face, it's the stuck card is there. You don't have to go back to the rule book. And it flows really nicely. And as I said, if I was to walk out the room, you can continue the game and still take part of it.
Yeah, Adventure Awaits sounds very, very cool. And after that little bit of a play, I'm really interested to delve a little bit deeper as well. You were saying that your plan is to take this to Kickstarter?
Yeah, indeed. It's something I like to do at the end of the year. Do I have a few moments to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. We've got a couple of minutes left.
Thank you. So, sorry if we took too much time, people. But I think you get the idea of...
It was great just delving into it properly. So,
so. And I said there's a game here, and it's like, I really want to continue this. And I've had lots of people from... I've had a guy with his child, with his wife, and it's down to him to create the adventures. Here it's kind of semi-set, and I've had RPG people interested in that it could be a one-shot experience.
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah.
And you can change, and again, this could be Westeros, this could be Mirkwood. I'm interested in maybe doing an overland adventure, so it'd be woods and rivers and streams, and the idea that you could roll for a demon by an altar in a wood, and this could be medieval Germany and stuff like that. So the world is yours, really. Yeah. And I like to do a Kickstarter, and I just want to say a few words to say thank you to a guy called Tom, who's really helped me to learn a little bit about Photoshop, because when I loaded it up, it was a nightmare on screen.
It's still a mystical art to me.
Oh my God, those symbols. So he really helped. He really helped me through, and we've got a wonderful guy called Mark who listens to my ramblings. And he's my sort of mental, spiritual aid. And Liza, who's my booth bunny downstairs, looking after the stand.
Brilliant.
And she's doing a cracking job. And she's learning board games for the first time. And she's seen how much hard work I've put into this. And she's really supporting me. And I really appreciate everybody who's taking part. And I'm going to try and get a little team of people together. And personally myself, I've been ill since 2000. I had some really shocking news for my health. I've been on a lot of really bad pain medication. I'm coming off that, kind of trapped at home. So board games, computer games is my life. And I want to get off the disability money. I want to say I'm standing on my own 2 feet with a walking stick, which is somewhere. And I just want to be a little bit more proud and a member of society and say, I've created a game, people like it. And I think unless God says I want to be a lion tamer or a submarine commander, I like to be a board game designer. And as I said, I've gone through all those fantasy books like you have. And can I just say, because you're using your own miniatures, this thief and barbarian could be an owl, or it could be a mouse. And so you can bring all those miniatures in there. If you want to be a unicorn, if people allow that, there's nothing that's going to break it, because the art sometimes breaks.
If you wanted to do it with My Little Pony, for example, just do it with My Little Pony.
River horse figures, or Dark Crystal, and I don't know what other films are coming out this year in the fantasy setting. And I hope it unlocks people's imagination. And for those that want to take part in this in the future, adventure awaits. And lastly, I do need art. So any artists out there that love to put some stuff to the board, seek me out through my website.
So there you go, guys. That's a look at Adventure Awaits. Look out for the Kickstarter later this year. I'm I'm very excited about this. It could be very, very good for me. I like a little bit of a solo adventure and a bit of solitaire, obviously a bit of co-op.
And I hope to say it's refreshingly different.
It is different.
I would never copy anyone's work. It's refreshing. It's a unique twist on something that's been going on for several years now with different games and big boxes.
Yeah. So yeah, good. There you go, guys. That's Adventure Awaits, and this is the last segment here on our live stream from here at UK Games Expo. It was fantastic talking to you, Alan. This is a great.
No, thanks,
great
Ben.
fun.
You've been a wonderful
man.
host.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully, you haven't been a wonderful parasite.
So there you go, guys. If you want to get stuck into some more stuff here at the event, we've still got our live blog running throughout all of the rest of Sunday. Get stuck in there, get commenting on all the different prizes and stuff that you've got there, so there's loads of stuff to comment and win. We've also got that Monster Apocalypse prize that I talked about at the start of the show, where we're going to be giving away 3 starter bundles for Monster Apocalypse. So that's 3 times that you could start getting into the kaiju spirit. There's 3 bundles there. It's going to start with the starter set and a whole bunch of other stuff as well, which is really cool.
And they've got the tripods, haven't they, and the Cthulhu figures.
There's some crazy Godzilla stuff, some like a gorilla that's also a worm with drills on its hands.
And recently they've got new buildings with mouths in and that.
Yeah.
It's really impressive, and what a wonderful gift if people win it, actually.
Yeah, it's great. And it's all the stuff that's sort of unpainted now, so you can paint it as you wish, which is very cool. So yeah, there you go, guys. We're going to close out our stream here from UK Games Expo 2019. It was fantastic talking to you, and fantastic talking to all of our guests as well on the stream.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye for now, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the convention.